In our last video, we talked about equation of a straight line and we discussed extensively about the four forms of writing the equation of a straight line. Now, in this video, we are going to solve 5 questions involving the various forms of equation of a straight line. So permit me to start from question 5 so I can make use of this part of the board. So I'll start from question 5. Question 5 says, determine the gradient, the intercept on x-axis, and the intercept of the y-axis of the following straight line. So this is the first straight line, this is the second straight line, and this is the last straight line. We are asked to look for the gradient, the intercept, and the intercept on both axes. So recall that this is a form of a straight line. Y equals to mx plus c. This is a form of a straight line. Y equals to mx plus c, where m is the intercept on the, where c is the intercept on the y-axis and m is the gradient of the line. We also said in our last video that the intercept on the x-axis is minus c over m. So what I'll do now is to manipulate this first equation to look like this, to be of this form. And in doing so, I have to make sure that y stands alone on one part. If we have 3x plus 4y equals 5, taking this 3x to the other side gives me a negative sign. So our 4y is equal to minus 3x plus 5. Now remember, in this form of writing the equation of a straight line, y is standing alone. The coefficient of y is 1. So y has to stand alone in this form. So in making y stand alone, I have to divide through by 4. So if I divide everything by 4, y will stand alone. I will have minus 3 over 4x plus 5 over 4. Now if I compare this equation with this equation, y is standing alone, the gradient m is multiplying x. So the gradient of this straight line is multiplying x. So we can say the gradient of this straight line, this first line, is minus 3 over 4. And the intercept on the y-axis, which is c, is this constant here, plus 5 over 4. It is 5 over 4. Now what will be the intercept on our x-axis? The intercept on our x-axis is minus the intercept on y-axis divided by the gradient. So the intercept on x-axis will be minus 5 over 4 divided by the gradient, which is minus 3 over 4. So this is minus 5 over 4 times 4 over minus 3. The 4 cancels out, the minus cancels out. So the intercept on the x-axis is 5 over 3. So if you want to be so sure, when you plot a graph of 3x plus 5y against 5, or you plot this graph, this straight line graph, you will find out that the point where the line touches the y-axis is actually 5 over 4, which is about 1.2 or so, or 1.25 or so. While the point where the line touches the x-axis is 5 over 3, which is also 1 point something. So you can try that at home. So that's the first line. For the second line is quite easy. They have separated y for us, so it's just for us to do little manipulation there. Since we want this equation to be of this form, we have 3y is equals to 2x plus 4. If I divide through by 3, my y becomes 2 over 3x plus 4 over 3. So this is now looking like this. Our y is standing alone and the gradient is multiplying x, which is 2 over 3. 2 over 3 is what is multiplying x. So we can say the gradient of this straight line is 2 over 3. So the gradient is 2 over 3. That's the gradient of this straight line. Then the intercept on the y-axis is plus 4 over 3. It could be minus, but here is plus 4 over 3. So the intercept is plus 4 over 3. How do we get the intercept on our x-axis? Minus c over m. So intercept on x-axis minus c over m is minus 4 over 3 divided by 2 over 3. This is minus 4 over 3 times 3 over 2. The 3 cancels out. Minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. So this will be the intercept on the x-axis. So when you plot this graph of 3y against 2x plus 4, you will observe that the point where the line touches the y-axis is 4 over 3. And the point where the line touches the x-axis is minus 2. So that's for question 5b. So for the last question on question 5, we are given 2y plus x equals 0. If we take this x to the other side, we'll be having 2y equals to minus x. If we divide through by 2, we have y is equals to minus x over 2. Now this one, some students find it very difficult, but it's quite easy. Y is standing alone. Something is multiplying x, which is the gradient. And we have minus 1 over 2 multiplying x, minus 1 over 2. So the gradient of this line, m, is minus 1 over 2. Now if you look carefully now, there's nothing added to this part. So the intercept on the y-axis becomes 0. Intercept on the y-axis becomes 0. Now for every straight line, once the intercept on the y-axis is 0, automatically the intercept on the x-axis should be 0, because minus 0 divided by any other thing will still give you 0. So 0. So the intercept on the x-axis is 0. Now any line that you find out that the intercept on the x and y-axis is 0 can never be written on this form of a straight line. You know, we said in our last video that this is a form of a straight line where a and b are the intercept on the x and y-axis. Now when this intercept on x and y-axis is 0, x over 0 is undefined, y over 0 is undefined. So this form, you cannot write the equation of a straight line in this form. You can write it in other forms. So that's for question 5. For question 4, given the intercept on x and y axis of a straight line as minus 3 and minus 1, what is the equation of the straight line? Very easy. We said that a form of a straight line is x over a plus y over b equals to 1, where a is the intercept on x axis and b is the intercept on y axis. So they gave us the intercept on x axis as 3 and the intercept of y axis as minus 1. So we are having x over 3 plus y over minus 1 equals to 1. So what's the LCM? If I multiply through by 3, I will have x plus 3y over minus 1 equals to 3. This is the same thing as x minus 3y equals to 3. So this is the equation of the straight line. Sometimes the question do not come in this form. This question do not come in this form. The question could come like this. You'll be given a straight line that passes through this point, that touches the x-axis at point 3 and touches the y-axis at point minus 1. Then you'll be given the equation as this. You'll be given a straight line and you'll be asked, what is the equation of this straight line? Easy. At this point where it touches the x-axis, y is 0, which means that this is the intercept on the x-axis. At this point where it touches the y-axis, x is 0, which means it is the intercept on the y-axis. So even if you are given in this form, they'll just say, what is the equation of this straight line? It's easy. Intercept on x-axis is 3 and intercept on y-axis is minus 1. The same procedure, you end up getting the equation of the straight line. Although you can leave it like this, nobody will penalize you. But if it's an OBJ exam, you have to just simplify it and break it down as possible, as much as possible you could. Now you can leave it like this or you can leave it like this. If I was your maths teacher, if you leave it like this, I won't penalize you. You are also correct. It shows that you know what you are doing. But simplifying further makes the teacher understand that you actually know how to manipulate your way throughout algebra. So that's for question 4. Question 3 says, what is the equation of a straight line with its gradient as 2 and intercept on y-axis is 4? We are given the gradient is 2 and the intercept on y-axis is 4. Remember this equation of a straight line, y is equals to mx plus c. So our gradient was given 2 plus 4, and this is just the equation of the straight line, as easy as ABC. So with this, we have gotten the equation of the straight line, that the gradient is 2 and the intercept on y-axis is 4. But they can be tricky at times. At times they won't give you the intercept on the y-axis as 4. They will say, and the intercept on the x-axis is 4. So do not make the mistake. Read the question carefully. Suppose that the intercept on x-axis was 4, minus c over m would have been 4. We know the gradient as 2. Minus c over 2 is 4. C is minus 8. So instead of writing plus 4 here, we'll be writing minus 8 here. So these are possible ways the question could come if it was written as intercept on x-axis is 4. This would have been our answer. So that's for question 3. Let's move over to question 2. For question 2, what is the equation of a straight line that passes through the points 2, 4 and 3, 1? Alright, remember this form of a straight line, y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1 is equal to y2 or y1 minus y all over x2 minus x. Now I can decide to write x2 minus x1 over this, but once I do that, I will have to flip this one too so that it will look like this. Or I can decide to twist it like this. Since I know that this is same thing as minus y minus y2, I said you can use y2 or y1, whichever one, you get the same answer, or minus x2. So if I do this, this minus will cancel out. So even if I choose to write it in this form and twist it like this, I'm still on track. I'll get the same equation. So let's do that. I can take, since we are looking for the equation of a straight line, I can take this as y2 or take it as y1, whichever way I'll get the answer I'm looking for. So let's take this as y2 and take this as y1. So we have 1 minus 4 over, and we have 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2 is equals to our y2, which is 4 minus x, all over our x2, which is 2, 4 minus y, 2 minus x. 1 minus 4 is minus 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. We have 4 minus y, which is over 2 minus x. So if I cross multiply, 1 multiplied by anything is actually the same thing. So we have minus 3 brackets 2 minus x equals to 4 minus y. When I open this bracket, minus 3 times 2 is minus 6. We have minus 6. Minus 3 times minus x is plus 3x equals to 4 minus y. So if I take this y to this side, you have 3x plus y. And if I take this minus 6 to this side, we have 4 plus 6, which is 10. Now mind you, if it's an OBJ exam you are preparing for, there are different ways they can write it. They can choose to make only y stand alone and take every other thing to the other side. They can choose to make only x stand alone and take every other thing to the other side. Or they will take everything to one side and make it equal to 0. So if I choose to take everything to one side, I will have 3x plus y minus 10 equals 0. That's also the equation of the straight line. So that's for question 2. Let's do the last question for this video. Then in our next video, we'll talk about parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and lines meeting at an angle. If the gradient of a straight line passing through the point 2, 4 is 4, what is the equation of the line? They gave us the gradient of a straight line and they said the gradient is 4, and this straight line is passing through the point 4, 2. Remember this form of equation of a straight line, y2 minus y all over x2 minus x. I can change it to y1 y1 and x1, whichever way, you get the same answer. Now we are given the gradient as m, and we are told that that line passes through this point 2, 4. So our x2 becomes 2 and our y2 becomes 4. Our gradient is 4, so we have 4 equals to 4 minus y all over 2 minus x. So if I cross multiply, I will have 4 brackets 2 minus x equals to 4 minus y. 4 times 2, that's 8. 4 times this, we have minus 4x equals to 4 minus y. If I take this 4x to this side, I will have plus 4x, then we have minus y. Then if I take this 4 to this side, I will have 8 minus 4, which is 4. So that will be the equation of the straight line. Now, the question can come in various ways. Instead of giving you the gradient of the line as 4, you can be told if a straight line makes an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal, and the line passes through the point 2, 4. What is the equation of the straight line? Now remember that gradient is equals to the tangent of the angle, with respect to the y-axis, the angle to the x-axis, sorry. So that's the gradient of the line. Sometimes they can decide to trick you and say, what is the tangent of the angle? Now some of you will make the mistake to look for the angle, but they actually do not say what is the angle. They ask for the tangent of the angle. So it's actually just your gradient. Sometimes you can be given equation of a straight line and say what is the tangent of the angle that this line forms with the horizontal axis. The tangent of the angle is the gradient of the line, which is what? 4. Sometimes they will say what is the angle this line forms with the horizontal axis. It is just 4 is equals to tan theta. Then your theta is tan inverse, or what we call the inverse operation. So we have arctan 4. That will be your answer. So that's all for this video. In our next video, we'll talk about parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and lines meeting at an angle, and we'll solve few problems on such forms. So that is all for this video. See you guys later. Please do not forget, like, share and comment. If you have any issues in mathematics, you can just state it in the comment section. We'll attend to it. We'll give you some videos you watch. Please share and subscribe to Exquisite Academy. That's all.